listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Listen up and get tapped into local important resources, information, and topics. Learn more about the topics of today's show at buncombecounty.org. Okay, it's time to get tapped in.
Well, hello, and greetings to everyone. If you're listening to my voice, you know that it is time to get tapped in with Buncombe County. I'm your winning host, ZaKiya
And I'm Leonard Jones.
And Leonard and I come to you from the Communications and Public Engagement Department of Buncombe County, where the real heroes wear capes.
Today, joining us today are, our guest today will be from Child Support Services here at Buncombe County. So we have Stephanie Gash, Steve Allinger, and Vivian Byrd. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go from my right around the table. Just want everybody to introduce themselves and tell them what your position, what position you're in.
Okay, my name is Stephanie Gash, and I am Customer Service Supervisor.
And my name is Vivian Byrd, and I'm in Customer Service.
My name is Steve Allinger, and I'm an attorney with Child Support Services here in Buncombe County.
All right, thank you all so much for joining us today as we're rounding up this end of the year. And we know that, child support is a very difficult subject. It is a hot topic amongst many groups. And so can there's a lot of historical perceptions around child support that, child support has mostly, let's talk about the historical perceptions that people have had about child support.
So yeah, while, there's actually, the rules around child support hasn't changed, the focus on the services have shifted a little bit to help with both parents to engage in getting a good order for their children.
And, I think a lot of times people have this fear that child support is one-sided. How has that been changed, or how are we as a county working through that?
Yeah, we do hear that a lot. And what I can say is that historically, child support services have been focused on the enforcement of child support orders, where some of that perception may come from. But we've worked really hard to change how we do business so that we're engaging both parents, fathers and mothers early on in the process. So the child support attorneys, including myself, we are bound by law not to represent either party. So we just represent the agency. So simply put, we're looking to get the best result for the child that we possibly can and create an equitable agreement for both parents.
How is child support, what triggers child support? What are the person, individual, the parent, which parent has to go in, or how does the process work?
So both parents can come in and start a case, but the person that has the child is the one that has to actually be the one to want to participate with child support.
So if a father is wanting an easier way to provide financial support for his child, can he not go?
He can.
Oh, he can?
He can.
Okay.
He can come and open the case, but then we have to contact the other party to let them know that he has come in to open a case, and do they want to cooperate with that?
Yeah, so it has to be, okay, so I understand now, you're saying that, okay, any parent can go in, but the parent that has custody of the child, they have to be willing to participate and want it. So they can say, no, I don't want child support.
Right.
Okay. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. So, there's all those myths around if there's Medicaid involved and things of that nature, that it triggers child support. Is that a fact or fiction?
Yeah, so no, it doesn't, you don't just have to be somebody who's receiving public assistance, Work First or Medicaid. These services are open to anybody and everybody if you are a parent. So it doesn't matter if you're a CEO making a ton of money, or you are in between jobs and struggling in that way, our services are there for you.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's nice to know too as well, because sometimes you have, I would just imagine as someone who pays bills online, sometimes it's just easier if you know it's gonna come out and disappear before you have to do it.
Right.
So is that one of the things that child support helps out with, is just taking that burden of paying off?
Yes.
Yeah,
they do.
absolutely. And I mean, I think that's one of the great services that we can offer is just having automatic deductions come out of paychecks. So that is a major part of child support that you don't have to worry about. That just comes out automatically. And then, I mean, the other thing that our great case managers do is they're tracking these payments. So, people are gonna know exactly what's coming out, when it's coming out, and they can focus on caring for their child and not necessarily, who's paying what to when. That's something that we can take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond just providing support for your the child at hand, what are some other benefits of enrolling in child support services?
I think sort of what we've been saying is that it's not just that we take care of that financial side of things, which I think is the most stressful part of it. So we can set it up so that you're not responsible for making all those monthly payments if you have automatic deductions. You don't have to worry about keeping track of when you're receiving payments. We do that. We can also help with modification of orders. So every 3 years, you can review your order, and if there's been changes to your income, changes to your living arrangement, changes to where the child is living, we can review that. And even before that 3-year period, if there's been significant changes in your life, you can come to us and we can work with you to try to negotiate agreement and make sure that the order is working for both parties.
I have another question. We know that life is complicated and various things may happen. What happens if you're a father, signed a birth certificate, and later find out that the child is not biologically yours? What's the process of dealing with that with child support services?
Yeah, that is a very, very difficult situation and, sort of a nightmare scenario, I think. But I can tell you that it's a very rare scenario that we have. We do try to get both parents involved early to try to head that situation off. So when it comes to establishing paternity when the parents aren't married, there's really 2 ways you can do that. You can have a voluntary acknowledgement, this is my child. You can get a court order that says it, or one of the services we have is we can free provide genetic testing.
Oh, I didn't know it was free.
Yeah, and so that's a big help for people who are trying to figure out who dad is when we're heading into getting an order in place.
And I heard, you always hear people, they always have, well, this happened to me. So in a case where someone does not go get the free testing, does not show up, does not claim parentage of the child, what can happen to that father or alleged father?
Yeah, that is sort of a last resort scenario, because we do work with people, and I think
Yes.
Stephanie and Vivian can tell you that they work with people to get those money, that money into that child. But there are situations where we have reason to believe that somebody does have the money, and if they're not paying, the recourse we can take through the courts is we issue what's called a motion to show cause. And that would require that parent to come before a judge and show why they should not be held in contempt for failing to pay that child support. But at the same time, we are working hard to work with both parties. So we have great resource coordinators, and their sole job is to help connect people with job opportunities in Asheville and the surrounding area. So we're not just trying to wring money out, we are trying to help people connect with opportunities to help them be engaged and be able to provide support.
So what are some of those resources you mentioned around, like showing them job opportunities? Is there anything else, resources that child support services offer?
I wouldn't say that we offer, but we do refer to mediation
Okay.
Oh, wow.
for both parents. So that's something that they can look into as well.
And mediation is so important, because a lot of times things happen because words weren't said,
Right.
or the wrong words were spoken. So I think having someone who can look on the outside or above and look at the situation can help those families so much. Okay, so what if a father, this is the last one around this right here, I'm gonna do to you, is named as the father and the judge says, okay, you didn't show up, so we are going to put you down as a father, and then years later they find out they're not the father. Is there anything like, and I've heard that it is a very long process. So that is why we're encouraging people to take advantage of the services at the beginning. So can either one of you all speak on that?
What's the question again?
Well, Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Vivian. If someone has neglected to get a DNA test, failed to show up, and the judge places them as the father of that child, and then as years later they find they're not the child, what can we offer or what can be done to help that case?
Well, in that case, they would get an attorney then because it's already been established.
Yeah.
So they would have to get an attorney to redo the whole thing, as you would say.
And again, that's another reason why I think we want to step in and engage both parents early in the process. And I do understand the historical perceptions that this is something that benefits one parent over another. But you know, bringing people together, like Stephanie said, you know, one of the services that the case managers provide is that mediation, but also can you come up with an agreement without having to go to court? I mean, and I think that's always the hope.
Yes.
That, you know, these two parents are the best who understand what, you know, the needs of the child are. And if we can help facilitate that, help manage some of those emotions that, you know, you were talking about, that's also a service that we can provide.
And I think a lot of times people get these ideas around child support like it's something new. But child support is hundreds of years old, you know, and what people don't understand that years ago, when there were just villages and community charities, fathers were leaving and leaving these kids on the hands of the community. And that is where it started. So no, it did not start in 1935 or 1982. This has been going on a long time. And though the system is not perfect, and all of, you know, everything, nothing truly perfect.
Right.
But it is a stepping stone towards doing something right for the child, because it's not about the parents at that point. It is about the support of the child.
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to the child directly, are there services that you all provide besides, or referrals that you all make besides the ones you all have mentioned that are specifically for the child?
Yeah, so there are courtroom staff who are present before we have Mondays and Tuesday courts in Asheville that are for child support services. And there are individuals whose job it is to provide information and help to people who are involved in child support services to find out how do I get custody, right? Because I know that is sometimes an issue is if you're paying child support, what if you're not having an opportunity to see the child? And we understand that. So there are resources available at every court date for people who are saying, wait a second, I'm paying, but I'm not getting a chance to be with this child. So we can certainly direct people to resources and people who can help them understand the process of seeing that child, getting custody. Now, we are very specifically child support.
Right.
So we don't do orders about custody.
Yes.
That's typically done in family court, which is outside of our purview.
So with the calculation around child support, how does that number come about, or the amount that an individual has to pay? I don't know if it's monthly or per paycheck. How did that process go?
So our orders are monthly orders. The calculations is both parents' income, credits, and credits can be if you're paying child care, after school care, which is work related. Also with insurance, who's providing the insurance for the child? So that's how we calculate the child support.
So, and how often do you review those cases?
They're reviewed every 3 years. if there's already an order in the system, then someone would get a letter letting them know it's time for a review. Would you like to request a review at this time?
And if they do not request a review in the 3 years?
Then it stays the same.
Oh, okay, okay. So,
And both parties have the chance to ask for a review at that time.
okay, so like if the father or the paying parent,
Yes.
because we keep saying the father, and we do understand that mothers also pay
Yes.
child support, so I'm gonna say the paying parent. If the paying parent has a, life-changing event where, either they increase in income or decrease in income, they can ask for a review.
Yes.
And that can happen on that 3-year basis or, prior to that 3 years.
Okay.
Can multiple children play a part in that calculation as well, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And how does that work? Does it go from older child, younger, or just whoever applies first?
Yeah, so a single case can have multiple children, or there can be individual cases with a single child, but we try to treat each child the same, and that's very important, that, we're not, trying to give an advantage to one child or another, certainly the number of children in the household can definitely affect child support. However, like Stephanie was talking about with giving credits to people who are paying, if they have a child from a different relationship in their home that they are responsible for paying for, we give them credit for that. So these things are taken into account, and again, our case managers are experts, absolute experts at knowing how to give people credit.
Yes.
And this is for either paying parent.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what happens if you don't pay child support?
Yeah, so, like I said, we have so many different ways of trying to get orders that both parties are a part of coming to, right? We're not just talking to we call them custodial parents, the one who has, that can be a mom or a dad. But if there's a situation where we believe the person does have income and they're intentionally not paying, again, we can issue that motion to show cause. That's the court side of things, where we would bring in and they would have to explain why they shouldn't be held in contempt for not paying. There are other enforcement tools. There's bank liens, taxes can be taken into effect. Yep. And then also there are passport revocations, and then finally again, the sort of the end game would be the courtroom motion to show cause and then the contempt hearing. But again, that's the last resort.
Yeah.
Is there an age limit with the child? Is it like once they hit 18 or 26? If you're insurance, if they're in school, is there an age limit? And if you owe back child support, is that just indefinitely until you pay it, or what's the process?
So with that, it's 18 or graduate high school, whichever comes last, or until the age of 20 if they're still in high school.
Okay.
What was that?
What if you owe back child support?
Okay.
So the kid, you start paying into it later in their life, and now they turned 18 or 20.
Right.
The amount that you're in arrears, is that something that just stops when the kid reaches 20, or is that something you will owe until you pay it back?
Yeah, you still owe that. We still continue to collect on the arrears until they're paid off.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what if a child has a disability and the parent has to take care of them lifelong? Does, I guess that's called extended child care or adult child care. Is there something that continues?
So if there are kids with disabilities or difficulties, some that can be factored into the original child support order through something called an extraordinary expense. If you have a minor child that requires expensive procedures or specialized schooling, again, a judge has to determine whether that rises to the level of an extraordinary expense. But I think Stephanie did a great job of laying down the extent of child support. And again, 20 years old is that cutoff. So I'm not aware of a carve-out exception that goes beyond that time.
Okay. Okay.
So with child support, is it, do the custodial parent has, limitations on what they can spend it for? Or is it just a check cut to them every month and it's up to them how they spend it?
Well, I think it comes on a card now, right?
We do
Yeah,
have
it's
the card.
It's moved up now.
Oh, it's a card?
It's
So
a card.
You have the SMI one card, or you can have it, direct deposited into your checking or savings
Okay.
account.
Oh,
So, yeah.
didn't know that.
And so you use it just like a debit card.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm. And apparently our studio person has a lot of information on this topic, and he is showing us information through the glass. So we look at all of this and we said, okay, the kid is 20, but there's $30,000 in arrears that has to be paid. Does that money then go to the now adult, or does it go to the mom
It still goes to the mom.
or the dad?
Or the
Or the dad.
Yes.
Because it is money that was owed to them
Mhm.
during the time that they were caring for the child.
Yes. And so here's another, because you hear all kind of things. So someone said that if a youth becomes an adult, they can go and sign paperwork that says they no longer want the dad or the mom to pay child support for them after they become, or they can what's the word, like erase the debt of the arrears once that youth becomes 18 or 20, that the youth can go and do it.
No,
No.
the youth cannot do
Okay.
that. Mm-mm.
You hear just so many things, you know.
Yeah.
And like somebody was saying, and I'm gonna do a couple of myths, and you tell me if it's true or not, because I've asked. If a woman, a mom, is paying child support, if she gets pregnant, she doesn't have to pay child support for 2 years. See,
No, that's false.
you see why it is so important not to listen to people
Right.
That's right.
unless they know what they're talking about.
Right.
So are there, and so before we go, because we have a couple of minutes left, I want you, if you want to, you can participate. Give
Okay.
me one myth that you want to clear
Oh
up
boy.
before we, because we're getting ready to wrap up, and I always give you a wrap up. so give me one myth that you want to clear up to our audience.
I would say that they think that we're not working their case, and their case is always being worked.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we're looking. Even though it doesn't seem like it, we're looking for that other person
Yeah.
to get you money.
Yeah. Anything, Ms. Vivian?
No, I don't think I have anything right now.
You know, and it's something that we already went over, but I do think it's really important, and I'm glad you guys brought it up. But the idea that there's a favoritism towards a mother over a father. You know, like I said, our services are open to anyone, and we have plenty of fathers who receive child support. And you know, these numbers that are come up with that are developed or established for the orders are based on economic data on what it costs to raise a child. And so these are not numbers that are just invented or you know, that, you know, our arms are being bent by a mother or a father. These are numbers that are across the board for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And so we are working hard to make sure that we're not just supporting that child and the custodial parent, but also putting supports in place for the individual paying the child support.
All right, Leonard, you got anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, I was just wondering, just for the listeners today, if they figure they would like to find out more information about the services that Child Support Service offer. How can they reach out or contact your office, or where is your office?
We are currently located at 40 Cox Avenue. We're on the second floor. If you come up on the yellow elevators, you'll see our window right there.
Okay.
You can come in Monday through Friday between 8 and 4:30 to fill out an application.
Okay, all right. Is there a phone number or a website they can go to?
The website will be NC Child Support, applications are on that website also.
Mhm. All right. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that covers it.
All right. Well, I always like to wrap this up, and that it is the end of the year, and it's the holidays, and we know that child support talk is so heavy and very frowned upon by so many people. But as we know, that we need to reevaluate everything that we hear and find the information for ourselves. So before we go on stigmas and stereotypes and myths and legends, let's actually go and look for ourselves. No one is trying to hold anyone financially hostage. The system wants children to be taken care of, and that is the main focus. We are one county, and we are one Buncombe, and when we talk about helping our community members, children are also in that number. And so, as a parent, as a guardian, as a case manager, as a community support person, church leader, no matter where you are in the community circle, make sure that your folks have the correct information. Make sure we're giving folks the opportunity to hear and understand what is going on. It is so important that we in 2024 knock down these myths and actually look into what is actually around and that can help. Research, rely on your own knowledge and not somebody else's word unless they're the professional. And also reach out and talk to someone. And until next time, until 2024, I'm ZaKiya Rogers, and
I'm Leonard Jones.
And you've been tapped in.
Thank you for listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower, here on WRES 100.7 FM in Nashville. Learn more about today's topics at buncombecounty.org. Otherwise, stay tuned for more great episodes coming up.